Hey, 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 welcome to another episode of Superhero Deep Dive. I am your host, Jason, and I have a fun episode. I'm going to be talking about the mutant that existed for a long time that you probably didn't know about till you saw him on TV. I am talking about Morph today. But before I get started, I have to give my general disclaimers as always because I don't want to get in trouble by the Karen and Kens of the podcast internet community. So, so the information pulled is from different sources across the internet and may or may not be completely complete, but they do give a really good insight on the current superhero. If I miss certain storylines or something, don't kill me over it. It's because I saw them more than likely and did not feel that it was that pertinent to the character development. So there is that. But yeah, this week I'm going to talk about Morph. He is a little bit of everything. He's an XL, he's an X-Men, he in some universes he was an Avenger. He's kind of like Superman in a universe. So yeah, um, let's get into it. His real name is Kevin Sidney, and Kevin Sidney first appeared as Changeling, who was a mutant shapeshifter. Um, he was kind of like a X-Men supervillain for a while, but he joined Professor X and died shortly after him, making him the actual first member of the X-Men to die in action. So there's that. As with all characters now, he came back. He was reintroduced as Morph in the 1990s for the X-Men the Animated Series cartoon. And there's an alternate reality version of the character under the name Morph that appeared in the Exiles. So yeah, so Kevin Sidney was, like I said, known as Changeling at first. He originally worked for a organization called Factor 3. He acted as the Mutant Master's second in command in an effort to trigger World War III. He helped successfully capture the X-Men, and the Mutant Master is exposed as an extraterrestrial. I could not say that word. And goes out of control. So the mutants of Factor 3 joined with the X-Men to defeat the Mutant Master. So yeah. So following that, Changeling sought to reform. He talked to Professor X, and he's told Professor X that he was suffering from some kind of terminal illness and only had a few months left to live. And he wanted to kind of make up for all that, all the bad stuff he had done. So, um, Professor X actually recruited him to the X-Men to act as a stand-in, where the other X-Men didn't even know, because Professor X kind of isolated himself. He wanted to prepare for alien invasion from the aliens called the Xenoxes. Um, so so Changeling at the time, or more masquerading as Professor X, led the X-Men's efforts to defeat the subterranean grotesque. And during that, he was mortally wounded by an explosion within a Silatron machine and consequently died, preventing the destruction of the Earth. So he died a hero instead of letting the terminal illness get it, like succumbing to that. So that was pretty cool. The X-Men mourned the loss of Professor X until it was later revealed that it was Morph, or Changeling at the time. So, it's kind of hard where the X-Men would go from there because, they didn't have as much of an attachment to Changeling or to Morph as they did Professor X. But Changeling, he was acting as Professor X. So he wasn't really acting like himself. It's just a lot going on with that. I can't imagine all the emotions that would have swirled around, especially with Scott or Cyclops, because he always looked at Professor X like a father figure. So that was crazy. Um, Okay, we're going to fast forward a little bit. When the mystical Darkhold was created, so we remember the Darkhold from Wanda and Vision, right? Or WandaVision, I'm sorry, I don't know why I said it individually. Changelings or Morph Spirit would use the opportunity to possess Megan, who was she's kind of like this elf-looking character in Excalibur, so over in the United Kingdom. Um, Angry that he used his remaining time helping the X-Men instead of seeking a cure for himself, uh, Morph sought revenge against Professor X. However, Merlin, and yes, that Merlin, later admits that the encounter was merely fantasy, having orchestrated the event to prepare Excalibur. I don't know exactly what he was preparing them for, maybe for the Darkhold itself, but I didn't go into that as much. I just thought it was kind of interesting because it kind of makes you question now, like where are his motives? Like he wanted to make up for his past deeds, but did he want to really do it because he wanted to be a good person, or did he do it because he was dying and he didn't think he'd have that much time left anyway? So it kind of just starts raising other questions as to this guy's, like, who he really is. And this is in the mainstream universe. This is the 616 universe, so let's keep that in mind too. Um, Morph is later raised from the dead as a zombie by Black Talon to form part of the team Exhumed, because everything has to have an X in it. So, this also consisted of someone named Harry Leland, Living Diamond, and Scaleface. Scaleface, this is kind of like Taserface. And used to attack She-Hulk. So there's that. He's able to break Talon's control of him long enough to allow She-Hulk to win and lay the zombies back to rest. Okay, so this is the 616 universe on this. This is the mainstream universe. Now, there's also a Morph that's important, and this is why I include it. I normally don't do a lot of alternate versions, but this one's important. Morph is actually a hero from Earth 1081 or 1081, who was a member of the New Mutants, X-Men, and Avengers. He was a unique son of loving parents. Early on in life, he managed to use his powers and was able to give everyone what they wanted from him. Morph always used his powers to joke around to keep everyone at ease with him, only comfortable to be himself around his parents. And for someone that can shapeshift, that's kind of a lot. Because there's a psychological aspect to it, too. His mother died of lung cancer, and Morph tried in every way to cheer up his emotionally distraught father, often acting in a childish way whenever his father wanted him to act serious. Who, unable to let his suffering go, chose to enroll his son in a boarding school. Luckily, that school happened to be the Xavier Institute for Higher Learning, so the dad just couldn't take it. And this is, it's real easy to look at the father and be like, you're a piece of crap for sending your son to a boarding school. When, we have to remember that this was he lost the woman he loved, and the mother of his child. So there's a level of depression there, and there's a level of heartbreak that, it's not fair to judge on that. It's because there's a whole lot to comprehend. And it's not like he abandoned his child either. He sent him to a boarding school to get an education and to be taken care of too. So he wasn't necessarily skirting his responsibility, but he was making his responsibility a lot lighter while he dealt with the loss of the woman he loved. So, we can't, it's easy to cast a stone, but we can't really do that because there's a whole lot psychologically that goes on. But Morph went to the Xavier Institute. He was promoted to the X-Men, and Morph's sense of humor initially grated upon much more serious team, but eventually his humor and humility won them over. He was important in many of the team's victories and was chosen to be a part of a pilot program with the Avengers along with the Beast as a public representative of mutant kind. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Morph would later return to the X-Men because, in his own words, he missed his freaky mutant brothers and sisters. And on a mission, Morph and the rest of the X-Men were facing off against a threat known only as Stonehenge when Morph became unhinged from time. Okay, this is where it starts going into the Exiles. So after becoming unhinged from time, the mysterious Time Broker appeared to him, explaining that his unhinging was a result of a chain of events that caused his reality to actually change. In that new reality, a wounded Morph is unable to maintain his form and is stuck in a coma, being only a white, muddy substance in the Beast lab. Hoping to save his own future, he becomes a member and comic relief of the Exiles, which is a group of universe-hopping heroes trying to save realities from ripples and alterations. Morph is a founding member with Mimic and Blink from the Age of Apocalypse. So, that's pretty cool company. And as one of the founding members, he's actually the only original member to stay throughout the whole entire series. So that's pretty cool. And that's kind of a history of Morph. So he's pretty awesome. He's pretty awesome as a character. We're getting ready to go into the powers aspect so you can fully understand what his capabilities are. Before I do, I just want to kind of remind everyone, if they have any questions, comments, concerns, critiques, requests, anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at superdeepdive, and make sure you use the hashtag superherodeepdive. That way we can answer questions, we can look stuff up, we can try to get to, and if there's things you want to add, I can always add it in and do an extra show with corrections, because I think that would be a lot of fun. And if there's something important to you that I missed, let me know, because maybe it's something I genuinely missed when doing the research, or I didn't understand the impact of it, and you felt it was important. So I can bring it up and talk to you. I really have no problem. Also, you can catch me every Tuesday where you listen to your favorite podcasts at Superhero Deep Dive. I also have this podcast running on YouTube every Tuesday. And, it's on the channel for Superhero Deep Dive as well. And you can even catch me throughout the week on Tuesdays and Thursdays throughout the day at Outworld Fleet Radio. And that's www.un-conventional.com/radio. So check all those out. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So let's get into the powers. So Morph is a mutant metamorph. He's got the ability to alter his physical appearance and voice at will to resemble that of any person he chooses. His power could also transform the appearance of his costume as well, which is made of unstable molecules. Now, this is kind of funny because his whole body is made of unstable molecules, it turns out. And Morph's mutation to shapeshift has also made it so his body is a Play-Doh-like substance, and he can actually reattach limbs after they've been severed. He's got limited telepathic abilities in the original timeline that were enhanced by Professor X. And as a side effect, he also gained limited telekinetic abilities. So that's pretty cool too. It also appears he has the ability to fly, as demonstrated in Exiles. But if we look at the fact he has limited telekinetic abilities, he could be able to fly because he is telekinetically moving himself. They're just kind of putting two and two together on that. And due to his shape-shifting ability, he does not wear any actual clothing. And he takes joy in pointing this out to people. So I thought that was definitely worth a mention. He's said to have no scent, but Sabretooth was able to track him before, and said he stuck out like a sore thumb. But Sasquatch from Alpha Flight couldn't track him at all. Had no scent of him. So maybe it's one of those things where his lack of scent creates kind of like a dead zone, and maybe that's why Sabretooth was able to track him better. But we also know Sabretooth, his mutation is probably more advanced than Sasquatch's. Like, Wolverine and Sabretooth are probably two of the best trackers in the Marvel Universe. So, it's hard to say. It's hard to say, but I would think it kind of reminded me of the old movie Witches, where they said that children should be dirty because if they're clean, the witches smell the child, but if they're dirty, it's the dirt that they smell, not the child. So maybe it's something similar to that. Like maybe if he doesn't have an actual scent, that the stuff he wears or the things around him may have sense, but he is kind of like this, like a dead zone, like a cell phone dead zone, to where maybe that's where he's able to be pinpointed. So I don't know. I'm just thinking. See, fun facts. Fun facts. Morph had to change his name from Changeling to Morph because DC Comics had it trademarked, and that's kind of funny. Morph is also best known as a mischievous mutant in the X-Men animated series, which is where we all probably first recognized him. And he also appears in in his alternate form, in the other universe form, in the online game Marvel Heroes. So there's that. He makes a guest appearance. Yeah, so it definitely seems like a pretty complex character, and I like the fact that they have altered him and made his powers expansive enough. Like, he can reattach limbs. There's also instances where he has been able to not just go into, like, change into other people, but he's been able to change into other things, like take the form of other things. He's also been able to move, I guess, his matter around to make it more dense or not quite as dense. But he's been able to give himself super strength because of it. And I'm sure he can manipulate himself to be, less dense, to where he can float, where he could maybe slip into smaller spaces and things like that. Make himself malleable to where he can absorb damage. Just anything. Like his whole body is this jar or giant thing of Play-Doh. So it's pretty cool. Now we're going to come to my favorite part. This is the power expansion part. Like, so what would I do? Could he make a good movie, a TV series, an extra comic book series? If it's a TV series or movie, who would you want to play him? Let me know. I'm anxious to hear what you guys have to say. And once again, you can catch me on Twitter at superdeepdive. You can send me a message there. You can use the hashtag superherodeepdive, and yeah, we can explore that. I did some brainstorming, and I couldn't think of a good premise for a TV show or movie. So I wanted to see him get his own kind of like mini comic series. Like he should find out something about his past, like the morphine abilities. Like he had that actually boosted by someone or something, like let's say that. And he didn't like it. He didn't like the fact that someone manipulated him like that. So he's got to find out who messed with him, infiltrate the compound, and get justice before anyone else may be manipulated like he did. You don't want to, it's not just going and getting revenge. You don't want other people to suffer in a way that you may have. It could have been like repressed memories, and then something triggered it to be like, oh my gosh, this happened. It could have cameos by Wolverine, people like that. Even Captain America could be connected to Department H in Canada, the Weapon X program, the Super Soldier program, anything like that. It could have ties to all that. Like, what if he was manipulated and experimented on to be like another Weapon X, and for whatever reason he got out of it, and now he's got to explore to try to shut it down. Um, it could be crazy. It could be crazy, but I think it'd be awesome because we could see a range of his power set, like taking people's identities, increasing his own strength to do things, changing his form to accomplish different tasks, and basically whatever else he need to do to get the job done. Um, like what if there's like one of these laser grids that he has to basically turn himself into like a snake to go around the lasers. I mean, it could be anything. It could be anything, but it could be a whole lot of fun. Um, and what if it even takes like a goofy role because he makes a lot of jokes. So like, what if he had to like take parts of his body, basically like take off an arm and throw it across the room, um, in order to flip the switch? Something like that. I mean, it could be anything. Um, I didn't think it'd do well as a movie or TV show because in these cases it would have to rely really heavily on CGI, and there's a lot of CGI out there that like with backgrounds and stuff that work well, but when it comes to actual physical like changing of people, like when they're morphing into something, um, you can only take so much before it just comes out really really bad looking. So I don't think it'd work as a TV show or a movie. I think it'd have to be a comic series. But in that way, the artwork could carry that, and there are a lot of great writers out there that could add the right amount of humor. So there's a lot that can be done with this, um, and I think that this character was revered at one point as almost like a Superman type character because of how he was able to use his powers and just expand on that power set. So I don't see any reason why we can't. Why we can't do that now. And if we look, there's a lot of comics out there that are taking kind of darker turns. So I personally would love to see something a little bit more lighthearted, um, that's not too cheesy, that we can have fun with. What do you guys think? Let me know. Do you have any better ideas? Do you have something um, that could be the next $1 million idea for Marvel? Let me know. Shoot me a message. Make it public. Put it on the wall. Who knows? Maybe, someone important will see it. I really don't know. I don't care. Because it's I want to encourage people's creativity. I don't want to stifle it, and I don't want to try to downplay it by giving you false information or false promises either. But I think it would be hilarious. I think it'd be great. Um, I'm not really a fan of Deadpool that much because I believe his humor is like way over the top. But with a character like this that was so revered and then making quips, it's almost like old school Spider-Man, which old school Spider-Man is the best Spider-Man, because it had just enough comedy and seriousness mixed in. But let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna cut it out from here, and everyone, I want you to be blessed, be safe, be happy, be smart, and if you're not smart, don't get caught. All right? All right, cool deal. Next week, I think I am covering. I'm going to try to cover the Max. The Max is one I've actually been working on for a while, and it's really hard. So wish me luck on that. But I'm going to try the Max and from Image Comics, and we'll see where it goes. Hopefully that'll be next week. So, all right, man. I'll see you guys next week. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye bye.